Okay, welcome to everyone. Tonight is yet another opportunity to spend the evening together in presence, which is really the sole point of our gathering. It's all about becoming present, relaxing into presence, deepening into presence. And every moment you spend in presence is profoundly beneficial. It's beneficial for the child you once were. It's beneficial in every way for your life. It's beneficial for your soul. And it's actually beneficial for everyone on the planet. Every moment you are actually present. There's no way we can actually measure the benefit at a collective level, but it's there. Very subtly impacting the collective with ripples of light. Every moment you're truly present. And when I speak of being truly present, what that means is you're here and you're nowhere else. That's what it means. You are actually bringing the gift of presence to everything that is here in front of you. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're present, you're bringing the gift of presence. It's the only really true gift that we have to offer, the gift of presence. It's actually the only thing that we can bring to God, is the gift of presence. Why would we withhold that? Why not be incredibly generous as you gaze at the flowers or at the leaves on this little plant? Or at me or at each other? Why not be incredibly generous in your gaze? So that as I look out and see you, I see the light that you are. I see the love that you are. At the very deepest levels, I might even see God in you. That's what happens when we bring the generous gift of presence to everything that is here. But it's so easy to be caught in that limited level of consciousness called the mind, isn't it? It's just so easy to get caught there. It's so easy to be caught in the past or caught in the future. And the more caught we are in the past and future world of the mind, the more we disconnect from the truth of who we are in presence, the more we disconnect from the truth of love, the truth of power, the truth of God. And there comes a point in our lives where we've completely disconnected and now we're lost in the mind and we just can't find our way out. Well, this teaching is about finding your way out of the mind, finding your way out of the maze that is the world of the mind, and coming back home. Where is home? Where is home? It is here. And when shall you arrive home? Now. I want to change that to when shall ye arrive home? I'm getting all biblical. When shall ye arrive home? Now. Every moment you're truly here, present, in this moment of now, you are an awakened being. That's it. You're not different to Buddha. You're not different to Jesus. You're not different to Ramana Maharshi. Not if you're truly present in this moment of now. I'm not saying that it extends beyond this moment, but at least in this moment, relax into the truth of who you are. Now, of course, if you think about what I'm saying, you disconnect from what I'm saying. That's the catch here. You can really only hear me in presence. It's kind of pointless to understand what I'm saying. It's kind of pointless to remember what I'm saying, Just be present as I'm saying it. Then there's an equal sharing in the truth. The speaker and the hearer are one. The truth does not belong to me, nor does it belong to you. As far as I'm concerned, it belongs to God, and it is equally available to all as long as you are present, only when you are present. It's like an infinite font of knowing available to each and every one of us when we're truly present. But if you go into your mind, you go into the world of philosophy, you go into the world of spiritual tradition, you go into the world of religion, you're actually disconnecting from the font of knowing that I'm speaking of. You're peeking into all the books of knowledge, but disconnecting from the font of knowing. Does anybody get what I'm saying? You're disconnecting from the font of knowing. And that's because you don't trust. Or you're not willing to remain or exist or dwell in a state of not knowing. One who knows dwells in a state of not knowing. And then if knowing arises within you, you don't then take it into the mind and make it a part of the body of knowledge. The knowing arises out of the silence and allow it to return into the silence. I know nothing. I'm just here. Who is here? I am here. Who is I am? I am. End of story. End of story. That's what awakening really is. It's the end of your story. Your story can continue, of course. Your story is made up of everything from the past and everything you imagine into the future. That's your story. It continues, but you no longer live in your story. You're no longer identified with your story. You live in the world of now, you play in the story. When you're truly present, your mind is silent. And that's where we meet in true communion, in silence. Silence is even transcendent of love. It's pure consciousness. It's perfect, eternal silence. I am that. I am. Thou art that. This is where we meet in true communion. The silence in me is indistinguishable from the silence in you. The silence in me, or you, is indistinguishable from the silence in Buddha. How can there be any distinction in silence? Silence is silence. Nothingness. How can there be a distinction in the nothingness within me and the nothingness within you? Perfect silence. Pure presence. Pure consciousness. I am that. I am. And when I say I am that, that is not personal to me. The I am of me is within me. The I am of you is within you. It's that dimension of you that is of this moment and only of this moment. Now, most of humanity is, to varying degrees, caught in their story, caught in their past, caught in their imagined future. Limited by all those limiting beliefs and emotional traumas from their childhood. Most people on this earth are caught in that limited world. They're caught in their story. They're identified with their story. So the question arises, how do you free yourself from the story? How do you free yourself from the world of the human thinking mind that seems to never stop thinking? How do you free yourself from an illusory past and an imagined future? The answer is very simple. First, you become present. You become so present that you're completely transcendent of your story. You're completely transcendent of your past and future. You're transcendent of your mind. You're transcendent of your ego. You are perfect, eternal silence, pure consciousness. First, you open up into that. Just for a moment will do. Once you know, you know. And it's from presence that the story is revealed. It's from presence that the subtle manipulations of the ego are revealed. It's from presence that you bring conscious awareness. You reveal all those aspects of who you've become. It's from presence you allow those repressed feelings to surface into conscious and responsible expression. It's from presence you bring awareness to all the ways you lose yourself in others, seeking acceptance, seeking love, seeking approval. It's just those two simple steps, presence and then reveal everything into consciousness. With love, with acceptance, with compassion, and without judgment. Even if judgment arises, no problem. Just reveal that with love, acceptance, and compassion. Wow, I'm pretty judgmental, aren't I? Wow, I'm pretty controlling. Boy, am I a blamer. Or I'm feeling guilty. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Reveal it all with love, acceptance, compassion. Who shall you reveal it to? Do not reveal it to unconscious humans. Not wise. But if you happen to encounter someone who's present, or a group of people who are present, then of course feel free to reveal it between present beings, because they are not going to judge you. They're not going to help you. They're not going to advise you. They're simply going to say to you, thank you so much for your confession. Thank you for being so honest. That allows me to be more honest. Now, if you can't find any present human beings, there are plenty of present other beings. Every tree is more than happy to receive your confession. Every tree. And I'll tell you how you approach a tree if you're going to confess to a tree. First, you stand back a little bit from the tree, because you have to be very respectful of the tree and its presence and its grace and its beingness. So you might even say to the tree, may I approach you? And of course the tree will say yes. The tree might even say, yes, my beloved. So you approach the tree. And then if you like, you can share your confession. Confess to the tree all of your humanness. And the tree will just receive your confession with great compassion. And after you finish confessing, you might like to say to the tree, I love you and you are beautiful. And one day I hope to be as present as you. And the tree will reply and say, there is no one day. There's only now. And then you'll become present like the tree. And you'll feel oneness with the tree. And you'll recognize that the tree is actually God in the form of a tree. And then another day, if you have a confession, try the flower. Or even the cloud drifting across the sky, or the distant mountain. Everything here on this beautiful earth is present, everything, except humans. We're the most remedial species on this earth. This is heaven on earth, and it is such a privilege to be here. It's literally heaven manifested into physical form, manifested out of the formless into the form, manifesting as heaven revealed on earth. And you are the revealers. When you're present enough, you reveal what's here in your consciousness. You reflect it. You reflect God to God. You reflect existence to existence. You reflect isness to itself. You are oneness reflecting oneness to itself. That's pretty far out. That's who we are. And that's why we're here, to awaken to that level. But how easily we get caught in our little day-to-day problems. Isn't that a fair statement?
Leonard, can you talk to me a little bit more about this being present? Because I'm aware of silence or sitting in reverence, but my mind will not shut up for a nanosecond, and it drives me nuts, and I'm aware of it. So it's like there's the mind going, there's something else that's aware of the mind going, but it's annoying me now, and it's like, okay, so what do I go? I've got to spend more time with Amma, I've got to chant more, I've got to meditate more, all which seem to be...
Well, so far that's not working, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, so can we start afresh? Instead of being with Amma, which is a perfectly valid and beautiful thing to do, here's Amma right here. This is the only Amma available to you, and that is one of these flowers. Amma doesn't exist in this moment. She's not here in the room. You can't see her. The only way you can access her or any of your previous spiritual practices or beliefs or anything like that is to go into your mind. So that's the first thing. You can only be present with something that's here in the moment with you, in this moment. It's very, very precise. You can't be present with the wall behind you. I can, you can't, because you can't see it. Your only access to the wall behind you is your memory. If you turn around, that becomes part of your present moment. It really is quite limited. It's limited to what is here in the moment with you, what you can see, hear, feel, taste, touch, or smell. There's also the possibility of sense, but that doesn't go too far. Better to stay with the senses. Now, you've already identified one significant problem for yourself, and that is the conflict you're having with your thoughts. And you have to relax, you have to let that go. Your thoughts have a right to be there. So all you can do really is you can do it with your eyes closed or with your eyes open, it doesn't matter. But let's say you close your eyes and you're present with your body breathing because your body is breathing in the present moment. You're present with the sound you hear. You can only hear sound in the present moment. You can feel the air upon your face. No problem. If you're really present, your mind will fall silent. But if the thoughts come in, if they do come in, there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that in a moment. If the thoughts come in, all you can really do is notice that. Maybe you say quietly and gently and lovingly, oh, thinking, and then very gently come back to the body breathing. If there's any antagonism towards the thoughts at all, in any way, that wins. The thoughts win. The thoughts prevail and they'll continue. The only thing that will bring the thoughts to a point of surrender and relaxation is the energy of love, acceptance, even allowing. You're not against it in any way. But you are free to exercise your God-given right to be present with what is here. That's the first thing. But the second thing is I'd probably have to have a word to your ego. So would you like to pick up the microphone? Because if the thoughts just keep coming, there's a reason for that. So I'm now going to speak to David's ego. I'm speaking to you, ego. I'm not speaking to him. How do you feel, ego, about allowing him to be very, very deeply present with a silent mind? How is that for you, ego?
Are you stupid?
What's that?
Are you stupid?
Am I stupid?
Yeah.
Good.
What?
So tell me.
No,
What
he can't. The boy's an idiot. He can't.
He can't.
No.
What would happen for you? Why not? Tell me why not. If I allow him to be present and his mind is silent, complete the sentence, ego, come on.
Well, the world falls apart. Everything stops.
The world falls apart.
Yeah.
Great. You mean the world in general or his world?
No, my world.
Your world.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when you say it falls apart, what would actually happen to you ego, if you relax and allow him to be very, very present so that his mind is very, very silent, what are you afraid might happen to you, apart from your world falling apart?
Well, my world would fall apart, and then what would he do? I mean, the boy can't do anything. He's got to have me there. Yeah, otherwise, because he's stupid.
He's stupid. Who told him he was stupid?
Well, he's just
No,
he's
who
kind
told
of
him that originally?
Well, it's just a fact.
Who told him that originally?
Well, everybody knows it. I mean, it's just,
Everybody
you know,
knows it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I imagine by calling him stupid, that's a form of judgment, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You
And that's one of the
Right.
ways you keep him under your control. You make him feel less than. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. Yeah.
So what might happen to him or you if you're not in control, ego? Start with him and then go to you. What happens to him? What happens to you if you're not in control?
Well, he sits on the floor like a lump of jelly.
Oh. But what if he's feeling really peaceful sitting on the floor like a lump of jelly?
But then he can't do anything.
And what if there's nothing to do? In
Well,
that
then
moment.
how's he going to earn a living? How's he going to survive?
But we're only talking about a moment. Does he have to earn a living in this moment, yes or no? Yes or no?
Well, yeah, he does.
In this moment. How is he earning a living in this moment?
Well, he's thinking about what he's going to do tomorrow.
Well, you are a trickster, aren't you, ego? I want to tips my hat to you, ego. You're a very good ego, and I admire you. You've got him completely under your control. Why have you got him on a spiritual path then? What's the point of that?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's something he did on his own. It's beyond me.
Oh. Okay. It's good to know that you're afraid that if you let him be present, your world will fall apart. Is it possible you're afraid you might even disappear? Ego, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. How about dying? Are you afraid you might die if you let him be present? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Is there any chance of you allowing that?
No.
I didn't think so. Would it help you, David's ego, to know that it's not part of the plan that you are to die, ego, or disappear in any permanent way? It's not part of the plan. It's not meant to happen. It won't happen. Would that help you to relax, yes or no?
Yes.
It would. Good. Would it help you to know that if he's present, he doesn't really need you in control?
I don't like that very much.
No. What have you been doing? How old was he when you came into his life?
About 6 months old.
6 months old. And what was happening when you came, when you felt it was necessary for you to pop into his life? What was happening? What was he feeling? What was he experiencing?
He was being abused in some way.
Was he? Was that very painful for him? Difficult?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yes. My guess is no one was present with him.
Right.
Right. And they were abusive, what, critical, judgmental? Just not
No,
there?
life-threatening.
Life-threatening. How was his life being threatened at that age?
I'm not sure. With a knife.
With a knife. By whom?
Mother, I think.
Do you have a memory of this, ego?
Yeah, sometimes.
Was mother a bit cuckoo?
No, she was just overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Okay. So at that point you popped into his life. Is it fair to say that when you popped into his life at that early age, you were his friend and protector? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes. And is it fair to say that you've been in your own way protecting him ever since? Is that a fair statement, yes or no? Come on, yes or no?
I don't think it's a yes or no. I can't answer that.
Have you become confused about where you begin and where you end? And
Yes.
you're mixed up with who's who?
Yes.
Right. So it's become about protecting yourself.
Yes.
Okay, good. Is it your desire for him to remain eternally imprisoned within separation, yes or no? If
No.
you had to choose for him, which would you choose? To keep him imprisoned eternally in separation or release him into oneness with God?
Release.
Right. What will it take for you to eventually release him? What do you need for your self-ego? What needs to happen for you?
I need to feel safe.
You need to feel safe. Right. Good. And what if each moment he was present, he brought the feeling of safety to you? Would that help you?
Yes.
It would. The problem is you're not willing to allow him to settle into presence, which prevents that feeling of safety from arising. Do you get what I'm saying, ego? It's just one of those
Mm-hmm.
dilemmas. Catch-22.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, that's a good start. I thank you for your honesty, ego.
Thank you.
And you're a good ego, and you're just doing your job. I appreciate that. Okay?
Thank you.
Very welcome. Okay. So let's all become present, because we can only really dialogue with the ego from presence. When you're present, you are quite literally transcendent of the ego. It's from presence you can recognize what the ego's up to. It's from presence you can bring love, acceptance and compassion to the ego. The ego is not the enemy, and it is not the plan at any level that the ego should somehow disappear, die, or be gotten rid of with enlightenment or awakening. That's a false teaching. Wherever you read that, it's a false teaching. Wherever you heard that, it's a false teaching, and it's most unhelpful. Because I can promise you, when you read that sort of thing in a book or somewhere, maybe from the East, I can guarantee you the ego is reading that along with you. And it's going to say, really? You think so? We'll see about that. No one in the history of humanity ever, including Buddha, Jesus, Ramana, and anyone else you care to name, no one in the history of humanity has ever defeated the ego. No one will ever defeat the ego. It's simply not possible. The very attempt to defeat the ego, the very attempt to get rid of the ego, is simply the ego dividing against itself. It's only the ego trying to get rid of itself. It's only the ego trying to stop thoughts. It's a trick. In presence, there is no judgment, and so everything is allowed, including the ego. And if the ego wants to remain in control, it is allowed. God and presence would never in any way oppose the ego, because that would be a form of judgment. But we humans need some guidance as to what the ego is, how it functions, why it functions, what's its role in our life, why does it resist presence, and how do we overcome its resistance? And I can tell you, the only way you overcome its resistance is through a process of cooperation from presence with love, compassion, and allowing. From presence you begin to reveal the ego. Now there's a very, very interesting question that arises, because it follows on from something you said, or your ego said, David. And it's this: what is the distinction between you in presence and you in your mind and ego? How do you know what's what? How do you recognize that distinction? How do you know you're truly awake and it's not just the ego thinking you're awake, or thinking it's on a spiritual path, or thinking you're enlightened? How do you know the distinction? Because I can tell you that no one will awaken until that distinction between what is awakened presence and what is mind ego is incredibly clear, crystal clear. And that crystal clarity occurs in silence. It's not a function of the mind. It's a recognition that arises. It's a revealing that arises in the silence, out of the silence. And I can tell you, the only thing that is not your mind and ego is you utterly present, your mind is silent. Everything else is your mind and ego. All thought takes you into the mind, becomes the property of the ego. I don't care if it's intelligent thought, spiritual thought, correct thought, religious thought. All thought is of the mind and ego. Now, I'm not saying for a moment we should stop thought. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with thought. I'm simply saying recognize the distinction. You're only truly awake in presence when you're present and your mind is silent. That's it. Non-negotiable. Now, of course, love can arise out of the silence, bliss, joy, ecstasy. Revelations of great wisdom can arise out of the silence, but it's not coming or occurring within your mind. There's a huge difference, and you can feel the difference. Does anybody get what I'm saying?
Yes.
In presence, there is no judgment. In God, there is no judgment. Okay. Okay. Pass the microphone. Can you say your name first?
Yeah, I'm Larry Gust.
Just first name. What is it? Larry.
Larry.
Hi, Larry.
Hi. Hi. Hey, guys. So, before I forget my question,
Yes.
on the point of revelation.
Yes.
So, is revelation something that suddenly pops into your silent mind and is expressed in words?
It's a good way to put it, yes. The revelation just opens up. But you see, the mind is an instrument of expression. It's not something that you live in. It's not something that you're living in the past world of the mind or the future imaginings of the mind. You're not living in the mind's world of concepts, ideas, and beliefs. The more awake you are, the more you've been through the process of releasing the past, emptying out those repressed emotions, freeing yourself from the ego and all of these things. The mind becomes a very clear and pure instrument of expression. So that when the revelations arise, of course, the mind is going to be the instrument which expresses that. But it's not interfering. It's not the source from which the revelation is arising.
So this would be sort of like, I'm an engineer, so you'll pardon the reference. It's sort of like a guy by the name of Ohm, who was a clerk who was sitting around one day and suddenly into his mind popped Ohm's law, which is the law that defines the relationship between electricity. So he had no way to know that. He wasn't thinking about it. Must have come from...
That's revelation. Same with E equals mc squared. Now, of course, the mind is an instrument. I mean, Einstein probably was laboring within his mind, or your friend Ohm laboring intensely within the mind. But then all of a sudden there's a transcendence of the mind, and then a deeper level of truth reveals within that context. And maybe that's what will happen ultimately to the quantum physicists and the likes. That they'll go so far into the mind looking for the truth. And that's what happened to Buddha. He tried everything, but eventually he gave up, sat down underneath the Bodhi tree, and then it opened. It didn't open from within his mind. So thank you for your question. Mary, I must insist we take a question from our list, or they'll write disparaging emails to me.
Okay, this first question is from Aaron from North Carolina. And the question reads, Leonard and Mary, thank you for being present and love expressed here on earth. I appreciate your humor, Leonard, and your tenderness, Mary. I have two questions. First is, what is a spiritual ego and how does it show up? And the second is, there are so many channeled beings that have been around for a while. What role do these beings play in our awakening, if any?
Okay. They're reasonably good questions, are they not? So in order to know what the spiritual ego is, you really have to begin by knowing what the ego is. And I've already, in a way, talked about that. The ego is any aspect of you that is not of the present moment. Any part of you getting involved in your spiritual life is the spiritual ego. If you think you're enlightened, that would be your spiritual ego thinking it's enlightened. The only thing that is not your ego or your spiritual ego is you utterly present. And then of course that expression can arise and the mind can be an instrument of expression, but it's not the ego that's expressing. And really that's the only distinction I think that's necessary. The more present you are, the more silent your mind, the easier it is to recognize what is not of presence. It's really easy to see. It's really easy to see when your when your ego comes in, trying to pull you out of the present moment. The ego has a very, very clever bag of tricks. Its job, David, is to keep you either in the past or the future. The ego doesn't really mind which one, as long as you're not present, because that's a threat to its position of power, authority, and control, and it might die if you're not present, right? So it doesn't care which one, past or future, it doesn't matter. So it has a bag of tricks. How does it keep you in the past? Well, it brings up in you the energy of blame. Where does blame keep you, past or future? Resentment, guilt, anger. Right. So these are just energies that arise with a little story, right? It's all your fault. It's all your fault. The ego will come up with these energies. It'll just run the energy with its story. If you buy into it and believe in the story that the feeling is telling you, it's got you caught in the past. That's a pretty clever trick, is it not?
Yes.
So next time that happens, you have to bring it to consciousness. If the energy of blame is arising, rather than believing in what the blame energy is telling you, just acknowledge it and say, wow, I'm a blamer. That's far out. God, did you notice that? I'm guilty. What am I guilty of? That's how it keeps you in the past. How does it keep you in the future? Even better trick. The promise of future fulfillment. One day, David, I promise you're going to get enlightened. Just go back and see Amma and see this one and see that one and read these books and prostrate yourself down before whatever, and you might get enlightened. Sit for an hour and meditate every day. Of course, that's the ego meditating. It's the promise of future fulfillment. When you get a new dress, you'll be happy. You get a new girlfriend, you'll be happy. You get a new husband, you'll be happy. All these promises of future fulfillment. This is how the ego keeps us completely entrapped within the future world of the mind, the imagined future. So again, you just see through that. It's just a clever trick. The ego is actually quite brilliant. And it has the whole of humanity enslaved with these simple tricks. Even the desire to get rid of the ego is just another trick that the ego is doing. That's the ego doing that. Even the desire for enlightenment in the future is a trick of the ego to make sure you never get enlightened. Doesn't leave you much room to move, does it? So the ego is the ego, and the moment it gets involved in your spiritual quest, it's a spiritual ego. The moment it thinks that it's making progress along the spiritual path, that's the spiritual ego. There was a second question. There's a second part to the question. I'll answer this very briefly. Yes, all right. Okay, so most of us here would remember all the channelings of the past from, who were some of the...
Edgar Casey.
Who? Edward Casey. Who were some of the others? Come on. Ramtha, Seth. Who was that other one? There was a... Yeah, yes. Okay, so I'm going to say that the channeled information is very, very useful to a point. But the problem with it, or the limitation built into it, is that we humans are compulsive projectors. We always want to externalize the source of truth outside of us, whether it's Buddha or Jesus or some channeled entity. Whereas if they're really true channels, they'll tell you that you cannot get anything from me. The only way you can know the truth of what I'm saying is from that truth that is awake in you. Otherwise you couldn't know it's that I'm speaking the truth. Now every channel or every master or every teacher must say that in order to be an authentic channel, teacher or guide. But we humans are all too ready to somehow externalize onto the guru or onto the channeled entity or whatever it is. And true awakening, first of all, as you awaken fully, whatever the channel's telling you is known within you. It arises from the center of your being. It's there. You don't need to go speaking it all the time, but it's there if it's called upon or if it's needed. But there's a process of integration that has to occur. Even with these great enlightenment experiences, peak experiences that some of us might have experienced, and tremendous revelation opens up, tremendous opening occurs. But after that follows a process of integration. Otherwise, you're never going to get to a point where you can declare, God and I are one. Not that I am God, but God and I are one. In other words, the awakened state is integrated, that the distinction between you at the personal level and you at the impersonal level has somehow come into alignment. So that I don't need to project it outside of myself. And anyone who's been with me for a while will have heard me say over and over and over again, you cannot know the truth that I'm speaking other than from the truth within you. Has anybody heard me say that? Yes. Many times? Yes. You cannot see the love that I am other than from the love within you. If you happen to get a glimpse of God within me, you can only see God within me from God within you. That's the message that Jesus' disciples missed. And that's what he was here to tell them, to reveal to them. All that I am, you are. So to a point, channeling is useful, but then it has its inherent limitations. And the one thing I would say to all those beings that are channeling, right, from other dimensions, I'd say, hey, come on, incarnate, see what it's like here.
In the experience of being present, so during the course of the day, taking a break from work, whatever, and going, all right, I think I'll be present. I feel like I have to force myself. Am I not being present? As in, like, sometimes after work, like I'll drive home. I live 25 minutes away from home. I'm driving through the mountains, and many times I'll pull up in the driveway and don't even remember how I got there. So I feel like I wasn't really present. I was in like auto. I don't even remember how I got home. I just drove like I was in. Is that the experience of being present, as like when you invite us to be present in the moment here? Or is that the experience of being in No.
That's kind of daydreaming.
I don't remember thinking anything. All I know is
well, it's just being it's being absent.
Absent-minded.
Just
okay.
absent as compared to present. If you want to be present, just be present with this flower. Just instantly.
So I am aware. So when you are being present, you are aware.
Well, your question is
Not
coming from your mind.
Blank-minded.
If you want to experience the truth, just be present with this flower, just for a moment. Forget your question. You're not being present with the flower. Are you with the flower in this moment, yes or no?
Yes.
You are which flower? You seem to be looking at me.
Oh.
I'm not a flower. So, be present with one, I don't care, be present with this flower here. I'll hold it up so our video people can see it, right? Mm-hmm. So we have many flowers. Somebody brought us these beautiful roses. Now, see this flower here? Mm-hmm. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. So be very, very present with it, just for a moment. All that exists in this moment is you and the flower. That's it. You're here, the flower is here. You're sharing this moment of now. Are you present with the flower, yes or no?
Yes, I am.
It's just yes or no?
Yes.
Good. Stay present with the flower. Is your mind silent in this moment, yes or no?
Yes.
Good. Are you feeling peaceful in this moment, yes or no?
Yes.
Good. Is there anything missing in this moment, yes or no?
No.
What are you? Are you experiencing peace in this moment?
Yes, I am.
Good. This is it. This is all it is. This is what it is. You're just here, the flower is here. Do you feel absent or present?
Present.
Yes. Now you could just as easily be present with this box. Now let's be present with the box for a moment. Just instantly. It's too simple. Say yes when you're present with it.
Yes,
Good. Who is present with the box?
I am.
Good. Now go back to the flower. Say yes when you're present with the flower.
Yes,
Good. Are you feeling peaceful in this moment? Yes or no?
yes,
Good. Back to the box. Say yes when you're present.
yes,
Good. Any problem, any complications here?
no,
Is it simple?
yes,
Good. Does it require practice?
no,
No, it doesn't. But you had to think about that for a moment. There's no practice. It's too simple. That's the problem. It's too simple. Now, have a look around the room. Just slowly look around the room. Everybody can look around the room if you like. But as you're looking around the room, just notice how much there is for you to be present with. Just as you're looking around the room. Is there any shortage?
no,
See, you're a free being. You can be present with anything you like. Or you can be lost in your mind. It's up to you. But any moment you remember presence, you're instantly present. There's no gap. It's in the remembering. It's instant. Oh, I'm in my mind. Oh, now I'm present. There's no practice. There's no gap. So I notice I'm thinking, now I'm present. I'm present with what I hear. Hear. What I see. Present with the body breathing. It really is too simple. That's the absurdity of this. Being present is the simple part. Remaining present as you live your life, that's a little more complex. That's what requires step 2. Okay?
thank you.
Good. Okay, pass the microphone here. Hi. Say your name first.
Amy.
Amy.
My name's Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. And so I have a question because kind of this, how does one become present and not have attachment to future outcomes or things that have happened in the past, but still make positive decisions and put themselves in a positive position with whether it's the partners they're with or it's the work they're involved in? And
Okay.
is it that doesn't matter? Is it that
No. You have to realize there's 2 different dimensions of you and your life. There's the dimension of presence and you in presence. Life revealed through the present moment. So when you're truly present in this dimension of presence, there is no life outside of this moment. There's no relationship, there's no work, there's no positive positioning of yourself anywhere. You're just here present with what is here. It's a completely different realm of existence, dimension of existence. So even if you give 2 minutes a day to this dimension, it will transform everything. 1 minute a day. Every now and then, it could be 10 seconds here and 10 seconds there, but it has to be pure presence. And what you'll find is all the qualities of presence will begin flowing into that dimension of you that plays in the world of time, that exists in time. And you'll find that more and more these 2 dimensions come into alignment. The awakened eternal dimension of you, which is love, acceptance, clarity, strength, power, oneness, no problem, no judgment, at ease, right? Those qualities start to flow through into your everyday life, and it starts to organize itself beautifully. It just starts to organically shift things for you. Now, at the same time, as you're becoming more present, you're bringing consciousness to all those disturbances within the mind that make life more difficult for you, or have in the past made life more difficult. You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to change it. You're just bringing it all to consciousness and taking responsibility for it. Your need for success might be driven, for example, by deep down a feeling of failure. the conflict in your relationships, if you have any? Well, you have to get to the source of that, the core of that. What is it in me contributing to these conflicts? You can't be responsible for others. You can be responsible for yourself. More and more you feel empowered as you live your life. So it's those two things running at the same time. It's step one, step two, step one, step two. You're present when it's really easy to be present, many times each day, as often as you choose. But then you're bringing you're bringing consciousness to who you are in your story. What's going on in your story? What are those disturbances? And you're doing it with love, acceptance, and compassion. You're taking responsibility. You're creating everything yourself. It's just that whatever is creating those disturbances has been unconscious until now. Now you start bringing it all to consciousness. Wow, that's how that works. If you're feeling rejected, for example, that's only a clue. It's only meant to you to come to you as a clue. If you're feeling rejected, it's your need for acceptance that's opening you to that feeling of rejection. So where does the need for acceptance come from? At some level you must feel unaccepted. At some level you must feel not good enough, unworthy. See, so you in a sense you keep going to a level that's deeper and deeper until you get to the very root of it. So it's something that happened in your childhood or another lifetime that gave you a feeling that you're not good enough, or you're not loved, or you're a failure, whatever it is. Then that drives you then to seek acceptance, to seek success, to seek love outside of yourself. And that leads then to feeling judged, rejected, and it's all reinforced. It's just a story that never ends. So you've got to, in a sense, reveal the roots of the story. Sometimes they go back into other lifetimes, the roots, but you don't need to go looking for anything. Just pay attention to what's happening in your life. If somebody makes you angry, they've come into your life as a messenger of God. If somebody hurts you, same thing. If you feel rejected, there's your opportunity. Life is a continuing opportunity for awakening. Everything in your story, everything without exception, is designed to awaken you, is designed to eject you from the story. Everything. And the most painful things, particularly early in your childhood, they're the most significant design aspects of your story to eject you from it. Nothing has ever happened in your life that's not designed to awaken you. If we can just stop complaining long enough, or stop trying to fix ourselves for long enough, that we can take a look at the signs. If your whole life you felt rejected, that's just a clue. You're here to discover the true meaning of acceptance. If you feel unloved, you're just here to discover the truth of love. If you're involved in the cycle of abuse, either as the abuser or the abused, it just means you're here to free yourself from the cycle of abuse. That's all it means. But for the most part, we miss the opportunities. Over and over again, we miss the opportunities. Okay? Let's pass it back to Mary. I'm going to try and rattle through a few of the webcast questions.
Leonard, I'd like to skip to Catherine's question. Catherine from Pacific
Do
Grove.
whatever you like.
Okay, because she's anxious that you answer this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hi, Leonard. I'm wondering what your views are on marijuana use. Thank you, Catherine.
Marijuana use. Well, if I recall, when Catherine first submitted that question, she had said prolonged marijuana use. So I'm going to assume that's what she means, and she's avoiding confessing that. Okay. Has anyone here not tried marijuana? I know you didn't inhale. You haven't. Jim. Shame upon you. Speak to Josh. He might have some cookies left over. Some cookies. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I think I don't really have an opinion about it, but I think prolonged use is probably unhelpful. It scrambles the brain a little, and I know that ever since my own awakening, which was as far back as 1981, my first awakening, I've never had any desire or interest to take any kind of substance or drug or even alcohol for that matter since then. I remember some friends of mine quite a few years ago trying to talk me into taking ecstasy. and I said, well, tell me what it's like. And so they described it to me. And I said, but that's how I feel all the time. Why do I need ecstasy? So for me, it's not about the experience. True awakening is not about the experience, whether it's the experience of bliss or ecstasy or whatever. True awakening is about not the experience, but the one experiencing. The I am, that I am. Perfect silence, pure consciousness. Then I can play in all sorts of ways. I can be funny, I can be silly, I can sit in cafes and gossip, but I'm awake enough that I don't get caught in my mind anymore. I don't identify with my story. I'm describing how it is for anyone who's awake. And being awake is not serious. That would be so dull. It's fun, it's light. If you take yourself seriously, you're in big trouble. So, Catherine, I'd cut down on the marijuana a little if I were you. It can scramble the brain. But I'm not judging it, I'm not against it. I'm just saying, anything in moderation. So let's have a few moments in presence before we go to the next question. I'll look around and do my presence hawk look. See if anyone's not present. You're already a fully awakened being, David, when you're present. Isn't it nice to be here with a community of present beings?
So nice.
I better do my presence hawk look into the camera and just make sure everyone viewing is present. D. Ray, straighten your head a little bit. Okay. Mary, shall we take another question?
This question is from Jay, and it was submitted through Facebook. The question is, what can you say about negative karma? Karma meaning action. Has presence got the power to dissolve negative karma that we created in the past through inappropriate actions? To date, I still believe in the law of cause and effect. I'd like to know if, to a certain extent, presence has the power to dissolve the karmic energy that we oftentimes experience because of our own past faults. Thank you. Love, Jay.
Good question? Yes. Okay, so Jay. to the extent that you're in your mind and the world of belief, including believing in the law of cause and effect, then you shall be subjected to that law of cause and effect. Within the world of time, within the world of the mind, within the world of duality, you are subject to the law of cause and effect, which is essentially the law of karma. But karma is in no way to be regarded as a punishment. It's really just another opportunity to bring to consciousness your unconscious actions, to bring to consciousness how you might have hurt others in the past through your unconscious words, actions, to bring it all to consciousness, because there are lessons to be learned within the dual world of the mind and the world of time. There are lessons to be learned. And those lessons are learned upon behalf of the soul. And the soul exists over many, many lifetimes. Karma carries over and across many, many lifetimes. And you're here, Jay, as the champion of your soul to learn some key lessons, and karma is very involved in it. What is the true nature of love? What is the true nature of power? What is the true nature of acceptance? What is the true nature of compassion? And you're also here to release karma. Mother Teresa, for example, had some pretty heavy-duty karma to release. And that really accounts for her life of service. It doesn't necessarily work, but it has some value. The more important thing is to learn these lessons. What is the true nature of love? How am I caught in false love? How am I caught in false power? Where am I lacking compassion? Where am I caught in judgment or lack of acceptance? By bringing all these things to consciousness where you're not love, not acceptance, not compassion, and by owning, acknowledging, confessing it, it miraculously brings up a deeper level. So this is all the law of cause and effect within the world of the mind. But the good news, Jay, is that when you're truly present, you've transcended past and future. And the more fundamentally present you are, the more healed and released you are of the past, you are free of the present moment. Any moments that you are truly present and fully present, there is no karma, because there's no past. But sometimes, for many of us, there's a process we have to go through within the dual world of time and the dual world of experience within time. There are many experiences we have to go through, in a sense, to heal, release, bring to consciousness, to in a sense, release the past from us and release ourselves from the past so that we become more available to the present. So there's two different dimensions at play. You learn your lessons through the law of cause and effect by bringing it all to consciousness, taking responsibility for yourself, which allows you to relax even more deeply into presence until one day you are fundamentally present, which means you are fundamentally free. No more karma. Now you can recreate that karma if you become unconscious again, and out of your unconsciousness you harm others, or you're unkind to others, or whatever. But I'm not suggesting you have to be holier than thou. This is not about being a good person. It's about being a conscious person. Even if you slip up and your actions are unconscious and you hurt someone, as long as you bring that to consciousness and, in a sense, repent that unconsciousness and come back to presence. If you hurt somebody, perhaps you might consider asking for forgiveness, praying for their healing, asking for God's forgiveness. Then you'll return again to presence, which is free of karma. It's really a good meditation. I highly recommend this as a meditation. Is one day just sit very quietly and become very, very deeply present. And know that God exists at the very center of your being. When you're present, you open the door to God at the center of your being. And just ask God to forgive you for any harm you've ever done anyone in this lifetime or any other lifetime. Confess that you are acting unconsciously. Even if you don't remember it, it doesn't matter. Ask for forgiveness and pray for the healing of anyone you've ever harmed. That's a very powerful meditation. It's a very powerful prayer, but it has to be sincere. It has to be coming from the soul. It has to come from the deepest longing of the soul for forgiveness. And of course, you could even follow that by forgiving anyone who's harmed you, because I can guarantee you, anyone who hurt you or harmed you in any way did so out of their unconsciousness and as a way of avoiding their own pain. That's what abuse is all about. That's what cruelty is all about. We pass on the pain to others that we're unwilling or unable to bear ourselves. It's one of the greatest human strategies of avoidance that we've developed, and it's at the very heart of all abuse. That would include Hitler, that would include whoever's throughout history. If we could get to the core of the matter, you would find the deepest level of anguish, despair and pain at the very center of anyone who's harmed others, particularly in a big way. It's just how it works. We humans are lost in that strategy. It happens within the family. You know, your father will pass on all the judgments he received as a child to you rather than feel the pain. Or he'll be controlling like his father was, or critical, or whatever. We pass it on. And the antidote, of course, is very simple. The antidote for everyone on this planet is to feel your own pain. Take responsibility for the anger repressed within you. Feel your own pain. You don't have to feel anyone else's pain, just your own. Then you won't have to pass it on. And what do you think is at the heart of all pain, of all of our pain? At the very center of the pain, at the heart of the pain, the foundation of the pain, is always the same pain. It's the pain of separation, the pain of being alone, the pain of living in a world where no one's truly present, the pain of no one really being here for you when you were 2 years old, which actually connects you to an even deeper level of pain, a deeper level of pain of separation. The separation that was experienced when you separated from the soul to incarnate into physical form. That is a profound experience of separation. Then there's the experience of separation which goes all the way back to the very beginning of time, the original separation. And all pain relates to the original separation from God or from oneness. That's at the heart of all pain. And we're all so deeply committed to avoiding the pain of separation, which we experience as emptiness, which we experience as terrible emptiness. We keep running from it, doing everything we can do to escape from it, and we don't realize what we're doing. We're running from God. We're running from God in God's form as nothingness. God is everything, God is nothing. Most of us want God as everything and we run like hell from God as nothing, because we experienced it as separation, and it was never, ever separation. It was our greatest opportunity, that moment of separation from God. We thought it was from oneness into separation, but actually it was from God is everything to God is nothing. That's all it was from the very beginning. That's all it was. But we thought it was separation, we experienced it as separation, we judged it, and we locked ourselves forever into separation. And then we do everything we can to escape the pain by getting mixed up in each other, seeking love outside of myself. Do you accept me? Do you like me? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Please don't judge me. Please don't reject me. Won't anybody think I'm special? We just keep losing ourselves more and more in the process. Why do you need anyone to love you? You are love. Why do you need to be accepted? You are acceptance. Pretty simple. But we humans are so habituated in these patterns of losing ourselves. Isn't that true? Yeah. So it's just time for us to awaken, that's all. It's really time. Is it time, Jeffrey?
Long overdue.
Are you ready? Good man. Okay, another question from the list. What time is it? Can somebody tell me what time it is? 8:17. Okay, we can probably squeeze in a couple of questions.
Okay, Leonard, this is a comment from Robert from Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, this is a funny comment.
This
We
is
have
funny.
to read this out.
Hi, Leonard. I took your suggestion in the last teaching session you gave to tell the checkout girl at the supermarket that I was much better looking than her. After a pause, she told me to repeat what I said into the microphone. And as my voice boomed throughout the store, she proceeded to open my salmon tin and smear it all over my face. Just kidding. Love, Robert.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Robert. Okay. Next question or next comment. Whatever you feel like reading, Mary. You take
Okay,
it.
well, the next one is a comment, and this is from our friend Kathy from Minnesota. What Leonard said in Tuesday evening's webcast, that people who are triggered, who are triggering feelings in us by saying things we find hurtful or make us angry, are actually bringing a gift into our lives by allowing an opportunity for what is suppressed to be revealed into consciousness. Well, that was a light bulb moment for me. Shanti, Shanti.
Okay, thank you. Just before you go on, Mary, I just want to say we've been getting beautiful comments coming in from the people viewing. It's really lovely to hear from people and how people are being affected by this. And you're all a part of it. And they often mention the group here. So it's really quite beautiful to know that it's reaching out as far as Shanghai or Lithuania. We've got comments or questions from all over the place. And okay, Mary, question or
And
comment, whatever you
another-
like.
Well, we have another really lovely comment, and this is from Bernadine from Victoria, Canada. Dear Leonard and Mary, I'm very grateful for these webcasts and all that you do for the healing of the planet. I've been following your teachings for some time, and they have made a profound difference to my life. I'm very grateful. Love and blessings, Bernadine.
Good, beautiful, thank you. Has this teaching made a difference for anybody's life in this room? Hands up, please. Okay, good. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this. It works. It actually works. Right, Kathleen? Okay, question please. This will be our last question of the evening, so let's all be beautifully present and bring the gift of presence.
May I choose?
Yes, you may.
I know we have a lot of people that are registering from China, so I was looking for one from China. I can't find any. So I
Just
will
pick
ask.
anyone.
I will ask this one from Meg from Atlanta. Dear Leonard and Mary. Oh, this is a comment.
I read the comment and then
Okay.
a short question.
I send deep thanks and love for your teachings. These webcam sessions are precious to me as we come together in presence. I especially want to thank you for answering my question tonight and for the gift of realizing that every question posed could be my question and all points to the one truth. With love, Meg.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, and this is a question from Roman from Poland. Dear Leonard, I'm very grateful that we meet again during the webcast. I would like to ask you a question about our beliefs. Our stories depend on our individual beliefs. Do we also have beliefs which are subject to all? For instance, are we aging because of our common belief that everything is aging and dying? With best wishes, Roman.
Okay. Of course, we're affected by these beliefs, and it's really difficult to make a comment as to if we didn't have these beliefs, would we not age? To some extent, I'm sure that's true. If we didn't believe that we would die, does that mean we wouldn't die? If we didn't believe we grow old, would we not grow old, or would we grow old more slowly? Who knows? Who knows what's possible? I can tell you that during one of my awakenings, my most recent awakening, which was quite a few years ago now, I was absolutely, call me crazy if you like, but I was absolutely and totally sure that I was opening up into eternal life. This is not something that was occurring within my mind. It was opening from somewhere. I don't know where it was, but I'd stopped eating. I'd stopped drinking. This went on for quite a while, and I just had no doubt within me that I was not going to age in any way whatsoever, and I wasn't going to die. And after a while, that became quite a concern to me. I started to consider, well, all my friends are going to get old and die. I'm still going to be here. It didn't seem that attractive to me. And one thing happened and another thing happened, and somehow whatever was happening was dislodged, and it went away. But for at least 10 days, I would say that was with me. Now, if I reflect upon it, what was really happening is there was just a really deep level of the eternal and timelessness opening up within my consciousness that somehow I assumed was my body as well. I didn't really know or understand it. So the bottom line, to answer your question, Roman, who the hell knows? But I can tell you that, well, first of all, try transcending belief altogether and see what happens. Because when you're present, there's no belief. When you're present, there's no aging. When you're present, there's no death. And there's no belief. There's just this moment, and if you're present enough, the eternal will reveal itself to you. Timelessness. Because at the deepest level, that's who you are, Roman. At the deepest level, you are a timeless being. And even if your body ages, even if it does, you don't. Has anyone noticed that? It's kind of really weird looking in the mirror and thinking, well, I'm not that old. What happened? Because there's no age inside, is there? Not in pure consciousness, not in presence. In presence, there's really no age.